Hello, this is Angela with Parker's Permaculture. I actually sat down to make a video on another topic entirely, but I wanted to take a few minutes here and do a short follow-up to a video I made several days ago called What Does It Mean When We Farm Wildlife? Because I'd gotten a number of questions and comments. My 11-year-old is doing the zoomies in the living room, so if you hear stomping, it's just him like doing laps and flipping off the furniture, and that's just life. So folks had said, I appreciate wanting to make room for wildlife in my garden. I appreciate wanting to see wildlife as a benefit and a resource to my system. I just don't have space to dedicate to them. And that got me thinking about how a subject that I've mentioned as kind of a tag along or an afterthought in many other videos probably deserves a few moments as the focus of a video. And that is that when we talk about the zones in permaculture, zones 0 through 5, zero being your home, 1 being right out your back door where maybe you're growing herbs and strawberries, and zone 2, the zones we work farther and farther out, we visit less often. So by the time you're getting to zone 2 and 3, that's where you might have your chicken coop and you might go once a day. Zone 3 might include your orchard where you visit once a week or every few days. Zone 4 would be zones that you have semi-wild that are kind of managed areas like your woodlot or a food forest that you are letting kind of do its own thing, and you visit it rarely, maybe to harvest nuts, maybe to cull some of the trees for timber or other purposes. But mostly after you have established your zone 4, you let it do its own thing. But you do visit it. Oh, you might go hiking there. You might decide that your zone 4 is an area where you want to go camping or you want to spend some time in a semi-wild space. Zone 5 is supposed to be complete wilderness that you reserve or preserve or regenerate to leave to the wildlife. Now, I only have a 1/4 acre. I've talked in the past about how I kind of have these micro zones, because for those of us that live in urban spaces or on smaller lots, we cannot really have all 5 of those zones effectively. What we'll end up doing is trying to cram them into a space, and they won't all fit. And so each zone will have reduced efficacy because what we're really trying to do is shoehorn 5 zones into an area that has room for probably 3. I really encourage you, if you are in an urban or suburban space, if you are in an apartment, if you are somewhere that does not have room for all 5 zones, please think of the greater community as part of your system. When we're talking about the 5 zones in permaculture, it can be really easy to see how they are applied to large swaths of land, to someone who has 20 or 30 or 300 acres, to these really sprawling farms. That doesn't mean that it is scalable all the way down to a single small urban lot. However, the concept of zones is entirely applicable. You just have to think beyond the perimeters of your property. When you live in an urban space, you have many shared resources: the library, public parks, public beaches, state parks, state forests, things like that. Those are a community-owned and shared resource, and that's where you find your zone 4 and 5. So when folks were commenting on my video about how you farm wildlife and saying, I just don't know where I'm going to find space to have a zone 4 or 5, you could encourage wildlife in your zones 1, 2, and 3, and even in your zone 0, like letting house spiders do their thing in your house. But that doesn't mean that you have to find room for a zone 4 or 5 on your property. Use those community shared spaces. Use the commons as an opportunity to create space for zone 4 and zone 5, knowing that it is funded by your tax dollars. If it cannot be created and supported on your own property by you yourself, it is a joint effort with you and the rest of your community to create and preserve those spaces and enjoy those spaces at the same time. Permaculture is not isolationist, individualist prepping. And so we don't have to do all of it by ourselves. We don't have to create, fund, and maintain all of it by ourselves. In fact, urban spaces can be a wonderful example of how permaculture works more effectively. It actually works better when we think of some of those spaces as shared spaces owned by the community, enjoyed and sustained by the community. Okay, so thanks for watching. That was just my little follow-up. I wanted to make that clarification. When y'all engage in the comments, I really appreciate your thoughts. I can't always reply to everybody, but I read all of the comments, and I want you to know that sometimes if I make a reply video, I'm not arguing, and I don't feel that someone is arguing with me in the comments. We're just having discourse. We're just engaging. That makes all of our permaculture better. When someone disagrees with me or says like, this didn't work out for me this way, or I can't figure out how to make this work for me at all, that's an opportunity to continue to engage on the topic, and for, maybe for me to think about something in a new way or to design differently, and for folks in the comments too as well. So if I make a response video, it's not arguing. If folks engage in the comments and seem like skeptical or inquisitive, they're also not arguing. It's totally okay. There's loads of good faith engagement that we can have over YouTube. It doesn't often mean that I can reply individually one-on-one, especially if there is a repeated question, or if sometimes folks DM me, which I'm terrible about replying to DMs. If I see DMs that are, several of the same vein, I'm likely to make a video as a reply, because I just don't have the time to individually message every single person. This is the most effective way of probably getting that information out or having that exchange with y'all. So I appreciate your comments, I appreciate your messages, and I hope this video was helpful. Thanks.